for funsies. This none of this is real.
I am white. I am white.
He's like
You look
slow
like you just got
blinking,
pepper
like
sprayed.
man.
I warned you,
dude,
specifically
I know.
not to do that.
I just.
Welcome
To
the show.
Yeah.
We're all saying everything this time.
It's coming back. The air horns with MLG.
Oh gosh.
Did you see any of that, Mike?
No.
There's a bunch of people just were like, July 5th is MLG Revival Day. And people just started posting all the old MLG trick shot clips.
Mike
It's
doesn't
amazing.
know what MLG is.
I know. Hook me up. Tell me what.
Yeah, it's Major League Gaming. It was like
Oh,
It was
okay.
the old,
I'm too
like,
old.
the
That's the problem.
original-
I'm too old.
It was the original, like, online professional
Yeah.
esports.
I got you.
It
So
kinda-
I got the major league part, but I was like, it's not basketball.
they were kind of the
not
ones
baseball.
that they were the ones that put gaming on the map to for actual.
Gotcha. I know what
real
it is
pay
now. I've
competition.
watched a few. Yeah.
And it kind of it continued to evolve into more, and now MLG is kind of dead.
Yeah.
And so so
Right.
bring
Yeah, because
MLG
there's
back.
other tournament organizers that kind of took up that mantle and branched out and got into more specific niches and
We've
stuff like that.
completely lost our female audience. Just kidding.
I don't know.
You know, it's funny because like the few tournaments I've watched of the gaming tournaments, they always have the cute girl going and interviewing the champions, and they don't know what to do. They're just standing there lost. And like, this girl is talking to me. And
A lot of them have gotten better, but
to all
yes,
my gamer
they
friends,
used
that's
to be clueless.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So funny.
Why am
Oh,
I
my
talking
goodness.
to this nerd?
For a lot of money. That's there's a lot of money in gaming these
There
days.
is.
My
Yeah.
goodness, it might be the most.
Well, even like colleges have like legit teams and matching uniforms.
Shadron,
and it's crazy.
Shadron has scholarshiped. Like
Yeah.
you can get scholarships for playing, and I was like, bro,
Nothing has ever
Yeah.
made me more
What?
mad.
Yeah, one of the nicest labs at because my son Camden goes to the School of Mines in Rapid City, and one of the nicest labs they have is the gaming lab,
Yeah.
the
The
gaming
gaming-
lab.
the esports room here at Shadron has the elite
Yeah.
gaming computers.
Yeah,
I haven't even been in there. I don't even know if I want to go in there because I'm just going to
You
get
don't.
upset.
You don't want to go.
when my kids first got the Xbox, and I thought I was pretty cool, and I was, they got a new Star Wars game, and I was going to play it and show them up with my old school Super Mario skills, and I kept dying on the first level, and then the two of them got together and they finished the whole game, the whole story mode game in like 3 hours. I was like, okay, I'm done gaming. I can't game anymore.
You're too old.
Yep.
See, you're a generation in front of me, and so my generation, we all everybody still games.
Yeah,
Your generation, they just quit gaming and never picked it back up.
yeah. I think the 007 on the N64 was the last game I really got
What
into.
was the cutoff? Where do you think the cutoff was between very few people in that generation continued to game into adulthood, and then now our generation, my generation, and up into most of yours? Most of the kids that grew up gaming are still doing it.
I think it's the millennial cutoff. I think
1990-ish.
no, that's not millennial. The millennial cutoff is is it 1880 or 1982, something like that?
Somewhere around there.
I think
yeah.
it's that far
Yeah,
back.
it is.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm at the
It's-
very, very end of Gen Z.
Okay.
yeah.
You're not
Or
Gen.
Gen X.
Gen X.
I got my alphabet all mixed up.
Zoomer.
Got my alphabet all mixed up.
Yeah.
EBPT,
And I'm not super at the beginning. I'm like I'm almost like halfway through. Anyway, all right, let's get going. Nobody's listening anymore.
Can crack it.
All right, crane crack competition. Who wants to go first?
I want to go last this time.
Okay.
Maybe I should go first because mine's all deformed, and so I don't think I'm going to have a shot. There's a good shot it won't open. Do you see this thing?
Yeah, I know. You've been making excuses now for
Hey, I
for a
won.
little while.
I'm tied with you now, sir. Phil.
You know,
Work on your
who
technique.
knows? Who knows? Maybe the popped up top is going to give you some sort of advantage. Let's see what happens.
Got to pop, and then arms outstretched.
It was almost
The
there.
release was so
It
good.
was almost there.
It was fantastic. Right up until it wasn't.
Wait,
I was holding my breath.
hey, we still got more.
To be continued.
Man,
Now I'm done.
I don't know how that can be beat. Like there was extra tools involved. Like
I had to pull a pin
man.
out.
All right. Here we go.
Ooh,
Oh, that was pretty generic.
short, sweet.
Yeah, that was not your best
bad.
one.
No, that was pretty generic.
All right.
All right, Phil, here's your chance, bud. Oh, that was a good pop. That was a good one.
Not bad.
All right, so
Very citrus.
shout out to I could have asked her if she cared if I shared her name on here, but I'll leave her as anonymous listener who lives in the area, was on a trip and found these and was like, you want some? And so I got a bunch.
Beaver buzz.
And did you try it?
Yeah. It's
Do you
really
like it?
citrusy, yeah.
She nicknamed it something that today's the band episode. Nah, I'm just gonna go for it. She nicknamed it Beaver Piss.
So is it pretty good over there, eh?
The blue one was not good, but that one looked like it had more potential, so I left that one.
I kind of had high hopes because it's like 280 calories or something like that. Like
It's super sugary, yeah.
it's very
but
sugary.
it's good. It's like cane sugar because it's
Yeah.
from Canada.
Right.
Yep.
And then Mike, you had
I have a Grizzly Energy orange mango flavor. It's very orangey and very mangoey.
is it?
Yeah, but
I
not
like the
not like
Grizzly.
orange drink though. It's almost
Yeah.
got like an orange, like you almost are looking for pulp in it. It's that kind of orange. That's interesting.
While we were in Colorado, they had those, and they had root beer flavored, and so it tasted like diet root beer energy drink. It was actually really good. And then I'm drinking Jolt Cola flavored energy drink. It's actually
Because you lost
It
the
tastes-
third can of beaver.
yeah, because I lost the third can to research. It'll show up. But yeah, so Jolt energy. Jolt seems good, since
Yeah.
we're talking about,
And we were talking earlier too. Like Jolt was the first like carbonated energy drink. Back in the '80s that came
Yeah.
out, and it was like, ooh, this is new drink. It's got lots of caffeine in it. Like
it's funny how conspiracy theories back then affected so much, because like the Jolt, everybody was like, it's not healthy for you, and it like now all pop has like that much caffeine in it.
Yeah.
And then Surge was like, no, this is so unhealthy, and actually Mountain Dew was worse for you, but it like didn't survive the conspiracy theories.
right.
And it's weird,
it's
and it's like, but now conspiracy theories, I feel like, like I don't know.
I feel like they're
Like taurine.
when
we
you
were talking about taurine, and taurine is just a B vitamin. And
Yeah.
but taurine's so bad for you. It's a vitamin.
Yeah, and I don't know. There's a a flash in the pan for companies that create their own little controversy and things like that. Like when KFC did that chicken sandwich, where the outer part of the sandwich was just 2 pieces of chicken. Like, and it was so bad for you, and like it was hot for a minute. Like everybody was buying it, and then it just died. So they make a lot of money
Well, it
fast,
tracks-
and then they move on.
I lied. Taurine is an amino acid, not
Amino
a
acid,
vitamin.
okay.
I was wrong.
Research.
Amino acid. I don't know. I'd have to. Anyway, sorry. Continue. Sorry,
Yeah.
interrupted.
Nope. That was
It's early.
Nope.
Hot sauce.
Yeah,
Oh,
we're
yeah.
gonna do the hot sauce challenge. So today's episode is just banned. All things banned.
We don't care.
We're yeah. This is our.
We got tired of being filtered. It's boring.
We need a week. We need a week to just
let off some steam.
Just be.
Yeah.
Where I'm not censored anymore. So we figured
if it feels like there's like a 10-minute segment missing from the middle of this particular episode, it's probably because we got a little bit carried away.
Yeah, if you're not listening to this, it's because it was banned. Okay, let's start with we're gonna do the super duper. We all brought our hottest hot sauce to try, and we got chips, and we are going to one by one just try them and just nuke our mouths, because this episode doesn't matter, and we might as well have fun with it.
Yep.
All right, so what are we starting with? You want to start with Mike's?
Let's start with mine, just because we've never tried it. I just picked this guy up, El Yucateco. According to the label, this is a genuine Mayan recipe. So we're about to get some.
Am I going to
Mayan
culture?
Nice.
We can get some culture here.
Yeah, you are. The whiteness in you might counteract the Mayan in you. We'll see if they.
All right, let me pass this bad boy around. Here we go. We're gonna all chip at the same time.
Yeah, I think so.
I know. I may have to de-bloop it a little bit.
Okay. No, you blooped it. I'll bloop it.
It smells really good.
Bloop and timing.
Bloop.
Since we're talking about we're doing a lot of culture today.
Bloop.
Germany, Mayans.
I don't know what culture my hot sauce is from.
I'm gonna say mine is from Sparta because it's God Slayer. It's Kratos.
That's good. Mine's probably just from white people, because white people are the only ones dumb enough to just eat these things.
Oh, that does smell really good.
It does.
It does.
What's that remind me of? That
All right.
reminds me of something I've had
All right.
before.
All right.
It smells delicious.
Going on 3.
Yep.
Uno.
2. Good flavor.
That's really good flavor.
Not real
Very
hot,
smoky.
but good flavor.
I bet the food noises
Are terrible.
They love that right now.
Yeah, that ain't bad.
I bet somebody was already typing how much I hate the food noises,
Yeah.
and I'm calling them out. If you type about the food noises, you're banned.
Send me a link to where you got that.
That's good.
Because I like that.
Safeway.
Oh.
That would go really good on my barilla burritos.
Yeah, it's like a
Buddy,
roasted pepper kind of
Yeah.
flavor. Yeah, not bad
That's-
at all. Not hot, but not bad at all.
What pepper is it?
Habanero.
Oh yeah, I could. Yeah, this
It's kind of sweetness.
All right. Do you think yours is worse than mine?
Yeah, I do.
Okay. We'll go
I'm
with
not.
mine.
I'm genuinely nervous for mine. I'm a little bit nervous for yours. I'm really nervous for mine. I haven't done a hot like this.
I feel like we got some Phil propaganda going on over there. He's trying to set himself up for the win.
I guess you'll see.
Yeah. Mine is the Bomb Evolution.
I've heard that's pretty hot.
It is pretty hot. I'll let Mike start. I'll let you guys determine how much we want to die.
How
on this.
how bloopy we get on this one?
I wouldn't be as bloopy on this one, just FYI.
To be fair, the last bloop was an accident.
It was a good bloop though. That was worth it.
There you go. We're going a little bit.
That was a good amount of
A little baby bloop. I'm good with a baby bloop.
I don't partake in spicy an awful lot, so this is definitely a little bit of a
Ooh, it
system
just smells hot.
It because it is.
Like, I don't know how to explain it. It smells hot.
Oh, I put a big bloop. Dang it.
What kind of pepper are we dealing with in this one?
All of them. I can't remember. I'll read the label as we eat it.
Come on.
Phil's struggling over there.
There we go.
There, yeah, you got a bloop. And then
Oh yeah, it does just smell like hot.
I told you. Yeah, it's
Smell.
interesting.
That's I don't like that smell. That doesn't smell good. Kind of smells poopy.
like the other one smelled like
Food.
roasted peppers.
Yeah,
like,
it
but
smelled
this
like
one
food.
just smells like heat.
it just has it labeled as red hot chili peppers.
Oh, like the band?
I was going to say
Apparently.
copyright infringement. Oh no, a bad episode. Oh boy,
Red hot
man.
chili peppers. And then
this
spices.
smells not good. I don't like that smell.
I can't find it. Yeah.
All
I
right.
guarantee it's not just generic pepper, but let's do this thing.
Okay.
3, 2, 1, go.
That's a strange flavor.
I think it's a ghost pepper.
That makes sense because they smell like death.
Yeah, a little dusty.
It's not that hot.
Ooh, that one gets you in the back of the throat a little
does
bit.
It lingers a lot more.
I think mine kind of got absorbed into the chip.
You need another bloop.
A little bit.
Yeah,
there it is. Okay.
I was say, take another bloop.
It takes a second.
No, it's there.
Yep, that's what I said. It hits you in the back of the throat.
It's a delayed. It's a delayed hit.
That one.
That one's making me sweat just a little.
My nose is running a little bit. All right, if yours is worse than that, oh, dude, I got to take a drink.
That's got to be ghost chili because it's a little, like I said, a little dusty. This is the way I describe that flavor.
You start.
Oh, yeah, it just builds, too. It builds.
I know. The bottom of my tongue is now hurting.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah.
That's getting worse.
Now it's on my tongue. It was in my throat. Now it's working its way forward.
Yeah.
That's unpleasant.
I do like it, actually. I like it a lot.
Yeah.
Okay. I would strongly caution you.
Gosh.
Go very, very light on this one.
Okay, what makes that dangerous, Tanner, that your hot sauce is that you would put that on something and be like, it's not that hot. And you put more on there. And pretty soon you're like dying.
Yeah.
I thought I didn't get enough at first. Holy.
Yeah, it's building.
My eyes are watering.
And we're just going to stack it with this one. All right.
Oh, you're bold. I genuinely would not do that. You're going to hate yourself.
Okay. I put it on the plate.
That's what I'm going to do.
I'm going to dip into it. Is that good?
Oh, yeah. That'll be plenty.
Okay.
You'll hate yourself.
I already hate myself.
Yeah, I'm glad I didn't bloop because I
didn't even need hot sauce to do it.
We're doing this at 10:30 in the morning, by the way.
Okay.
All right, we good?
Boop.
That's about it. All right, 3, 2, 1, go.
Oh, I like the flavor.
That tastes better than the bomb. Is that green? That also has ghost pepper in it.
Yep.
Yes, it does.
Factor. Yep. But it has other flavors other than ghost pepper. It's got. It tastes like it has green chili in it.
Yeah.
Like green chilies, and then ghost pepper is the like.
Is there a green version of the ghost pepper? Like jalapeno and chipotle are the same pepper. It's just how ripe they get.
Yeah, that one's building too.
Yeah.
I'm gonna eat another couple chips to kill the pain.
All this crunching in people's ears. I love it.
They gotta love it.
Oh. Yeah, this one I remember just slowly.
Yeah, that one's making me sniff a little bit.
It slowly just coats your mouth, and you can't get rid of it.
I don't know which one, yours or mine, I dislike more. Maybe mine in the proportions that we did, because that one. If I'd have put as much of yours on the chip as I did the Da Bomb, I would be miserable. Yours definitely is.
My mustache is sweating.
Yeah.
The first time I tried that one, I put like a full dollop on a wing, and I I thought I was gonna die.
The energy drinks serve a dual purpose.
Yeah.
Gosh, I got a chip.
Yeah.
Oh.
My tongue. Ow. I apologize. This is my idea. I apologize.
It's like breathing fire when you breathe out.
No, not to you guys. To people
the people listening.
I don't care about you.
I know. I see, and the funny thing is that I enjoyed that a lot. I like spicy. I like the flavor. Even the ghost pepper, it's fun. The different flavors of spice I enjoy trying. And have you ever, one of the best mediums to try spice, if you're not a big hot, spicy, like the pain, if you don't like the pain to try spices, one of the best mediums is try the different peppers in cheese. There's ghost pepper cheese, kind of like a pepper jack.
Dairy offsets it.
The pepper jack cheese. You can buy ghost pepper cheese, and you can actually like taste the pepper's flavor as the pepper tastes without as much of the pain.
I'm always kind of disappointed when restaurants have like ghost pepper flavored stuff. Like I've gone there, like we have new ghost pepper wings, and they're not hot.
Okay,
like they're hot, but they're not.
If you're going to advertise as having one of the like Carolina Reaper, any of those, if you're going to advertise as having something that has that, it better be so hot that I can't finish them.
Okay,
if I can just finish the wings without needing ranch or water, that's not what it is.
There was a company, and I think they're still making stuff. You could get it at like, I think Baumgart's had it, Cabela's had it, Running's had it, stuff like that. It was donkey themed.
Phil's dying over there.
Dude, I'm having a hard time.
he's struggling over there.
He's
gonna be help here pretty soon.
His eyes are watering.
Let me put the cap on my bottle. Dude, I'm having a bad time.
Oh, yeah, sorry, I forgot to hand it back.
But, so, it was...
I wasn't even expecting it. I look over it.
He's like,
you
slow blinking, like,
spray,
man.
Dude. Yeah, your eyes are just like...
I am white. I am white.
Oh my gosh. Oh yeah,
no melanin, none.
Be careful, don't touch your eyes just in case.
Yeah, no, I'm being careful. I'm wiping with the back of my hand, the wrist.
I looked over and literally I was not expecting that. It does. It looks like you got pepper spray, dude.
So the company that kind of got me started trying hot sauces was all like banned episode. I can say this. So it was like,
watch your language.
Kick, what stuff like that. And the one, they made popcorn. They started making popcorn, hot popcorn, peppered popcorn.
That sounds really good.
The first one, so they had like 3 levels.
Very neutral medium. Yeah.
They had 3 levels. The first one was chili lime, which is good. That stuff was good. I ate that for fun. It was nice. It tasted good. I loved the flavor. The next one was like a habanero, I think, and it was pretty hot. And then they have since toned down their formula for the ghost pepper one, but they had ghost pepper popcorn, and it was in like the butter oil, like the oil and butter stuff, and so it would coat your mouth, and you could not get rid of it. Dairy would not force it out. You just suffered.
Have you ever seen somebody that when they eat something hot and they get the hot sauce hiccups?
Yeah.
That is the funniest thing ever.
Yeah.
It's such a hard hiccup.
Well, and it's like, I don't remember if I've ever had them or not, but like you just know what that feels like.
Yeah, it's just like that kind of hiccup. Yeah. Oh man. Yep.
Oh, that's fun.
Oh, that was a good time.
Oh man.
That
All
was
right.
a good time.
Well,
I'm sweating.
In the ancient days of giants, when the earth was wild and free, a creature roamed the valleys, cloaked in mystery. Is he born of angels' blood and man, a Nephilim so tall, or a shadow of the fallen, yet he the maker's call? He's a biblically accurate Bigfoot, with a lineage from the skies. Not a myth or legend, but a truth that never dies. Is he a remnant of the Nephilim, a titan standing tall? Or does he have the word of God upon him, the last to hear the call?
welcome to the band episode, guys. This is unhinged, man. From the adrenaline from the hot sauce, the caffeine.
I'm awake
from
now.
the energy drinks.
Wide awake.
Bro, we're ready for this episode.
It was actually really good to do this in the morning one.
Okay, before we get into the main topics of the day, as always, we got some small topics, some small talk topics.
Woohoo!
I keep wondering if we should name our segments, but then I'm like, that's too much structure.
Yeah.
I don't like structure.
Yeah.
I like
I agree.
chaos.
I was going to say the reason that this
thrive in
works.
chaos.
The
Yep.
reason that this works is because we don't have cuts or segment. We just do
And
it.
I love that we have no idea what's coming at this point.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah,
We're just, staring at Tanner in his pink hat, ready to go, eyes watering, nose sniffling.
Yeah, buddy.
All right.
I'm okay now.
All right. Okay. So the first one, man, on a little bit more, man, we're just gonna get serious real quick. But the flooding in Texas, man,
Oh,
be praying,
Wanted to
all
bring
that stuff.
Yep.
And I'm not, and I'm not one to I think the politicizing of it is
disgusting.
Just stop.
Disgusting.
Stop it. That's stupid. And I feel like no better time than a band episode to talk about. There was a person who came out and admitted to cloud seeding the region 2 days before the floods happened.
Right.
You remember how I talked about in the UAE, they cloud seeded for 2 days, and then 2 days later they got like 100 years worth of rain in like an hour? 2 days before. So I'll just read this. A weather modification company CEO admits cloud seeding operations conducted in the hill country 2 days before the deadly flood. 2 days. But Augustus Dorico, CEO of Rainmaker, claims his release of silver iodide into the atmosphere did not cause the deadly floods. Dorico says the two clouds seeded would have dissipated after a few hours and would have no effect on the floods several days later. Though the technique has been studied for decades, it remains difficult to predict the additional rainfall that cloud seeding operations can generate, with estimates ranging widely from 0 to 20%. So much rain fell that the Guadalupe River at Kerrville, one of the epicenters of the floods, rose 26 feet in less than an hour overnight. It was like 25 of those feet were like in 4 minutes. In less than an hour overnight on Friday. So, two things. The first thing is we live in a reality right now where cloud seeding and weather modification is real. Like the governments have admitted it at this point. I think that there's no coincidence that there's a correlation with historic flooding happening 2 days after they cloud seed in an area. I don't know why. They seem to not know why. But 2 days later, sure enough. So, now whether or not it did cause it, I'll leave that up for our users to speculate. But it does seem like there is a correlation between cloud seeding and 2 days later having historic rains. And I'm just saying that's two coincidences that we know of for sure. As a matter of fact, they have admitted to cloud seeding and 2 days later, historic rainfall.
Right.
So now we've got two coincidences. And so if you've heard of any other coincidences, let us know. But I want to move on because I don't want to politicize that. If you guys have anything to say about that. Or say the word
coincidences anymore.
Coincidences.
Yeah.
It already doesn't sound like a word.
I don't like it. Sketches me out.
Yeah. But, okay, so now on something a little more fun because I want to get that out of the way. This is way fun. Way fun. So, there is a southern ocean current called the Deep Western Boundary Current, which has reversed directions for the first time ever, and we don't even know what it means.
What?
Yeah, that's fun.
An ocean current just flipped?
In the Southern Ocean. Flipped, first time ever recorded. We have no idea what it means.
Southern, which ocean?
It's the Southern Ocean, the one around Antarctica. The Deep Western Boundary Current is the name of the one that switched directions. Of the Atlantic Meridional overturning circulation.
So what would cause a current to just flip direction?
Well, there's like the El Nino, La Nina, and the neutral, which kind of flips and moves and stuff. But so that's the thing. There's theories. They're peddling it as global warming. However, some people who study the electromagnetic ionosphere and the sun and that kind of stuff, they theorize that it has more to do with the poles beginning to shift. That as the poles shift, it changes even the weather, the ocean currents.
I could see that a lot more.
Would that be so along the same lines as like if you flush a toilet here, the water swirls one way. If you flush it on the other side of the planet, it flushes the other way? Are we flushing the ocean the other direction?
Come
on, Tanner.
Does this man look like a scientist to you?
I am.
No, he does not.
I'm a tist. Not a science.
I am a tist.
Yeah, that's nuts. First time. And the crazy thing is it might just do nothing.
Yeah, it might not even matter.
It might not matter. But it also, according to what they're afraid of, so some people are afraid that it could change the way the ocean holds and harnesses CO2. Because the Southern Ocean down and around Antarctica holds a lot of CO2 apparently.
Okay.
And so by shifting directions, it could begin, instead of pushing the CO2 down, could begin pulling it up, apparently. That's
so
a
we could
concern.
see a change in like vegetation.
We could see a change in weather. Now, think about
It
this.
could, yeah.
So
I don't
like
know.
Nebraska, just a few thousand years ago, not even a few thousand, but within quote unquote modern history, was a desert because we have the sandhills.
Yeah.
You have Egypt, and we've talked about this on the show in the past, where Egypt was plentiful with rain, and it's now a desert.
Even Nebraska was underneath. There were sharks.
Yeah,
there.
it
like
was
you
a
can find shark's
giant-
teeth out
yeah,
here and
giant
stuff
ocean.
in the middle of the continental U.S. Like we're
Right.
dead center in the middle of the United States.
Yeah. And then we have a biblical prophecy which talks about how the rains will return to the Middle East in the end times. And so if it were to change the weather patterns, could you imagine if it changed it so that the Middle East starts turning into lush vegetation like it once was however many years ago? That'd
Interesting.
be kind of crazy. But that is an end time prophecy that, that the rains would return to the promised land and to the Middle East. Imagine if all of a sudden it just starts raining like crazy, which it has been starting to rain there more than it used to. But yeah, the hot sauce is just settled on the back of my throat right now.
Yeah, it's still kind of tingly.
Probably because I'm
My tongue,
Not bad, though.
If I like fold my tongue to touch itself, like wrap over itself, then it like reactivates it for a few seconds.
Oh yeah.
You just made me do that. Stop messing with my brain, Phil.
Don't yawn, Mike.
Yeah. And the last little starter that I wanted to talk about was we have a red heifer update.
Ooh.
Moo. Oh, sorry.
Do it. Who has the better moo?
Oh,
You're a little cow.
Let's go.
Terrible. I'm sorry. That's very loud.
All right, we got to turn everything into a competition.
That's
enough. So stupid.
we're so competitive.
Anyway, so
What was
we
that?
have.
Sorry, I just need a moment.
I don't even
Anyway,
know.
sorry,
I don't
continue.
know. Okay, so we have a red heifer update. So, 3 are actually still qualified, not
wow.
2 like we had previously shared on here. 3 are still qualified, and they have officially practice sacrificed one of them, one of the non-qualifiers. So they actually took one of the ones that got disqualified real early, and they decided it isn't even quality enough to initiate a breeding program with it, and they went ahead and practice sacrificed it. So they're like legit getting this thing ready to roll. But the thing about it is, every time I think they're going to do it, they don't do it, and so we'll see. Did we ever figure out if Commandy's name is Commandy or Kamani?
No, because he won't answer.
He won't answer it.
I thought it was
He's
Commandy.
because he's a
Commandy, but yeah, Mike threw out maybe it's Kamandi.
Oh.
and
it could be
he
in his
never,
picture,
He never
yeah.
answered. So maybe he's
He's
undercover.
holding it close to the chest, but he
It's
basically
like a
was
secret agent in there.
yeah.
We're going
He-
to come up with conspiracy theories about our own Discord users.
Exactly.
One of our longest standing Discord users, by the way.
Yeah. There's a part of me that thinks the CIA has already infiltrated our our Discord.
Dang.
But,
You know what? I hadn't really thought about that, but it's probable.
But yeah, Kamandi, he gives me a hard time every time I bring up the red heifers because it never happens, and it doesn't. It's like this ongoing thing, but it seems like it continues to build and build and build and build, and then they don't do it.
But well, and imagine from the outside looking in, like they're hinging the people doing this, or they're hinging their entire belief of what's going to happen on this one big event. Like, who wants to be the guy who messes that up?
Right.
Or,
Well, and
or
on the other
does it and nothing happens.
right, and on the other end of things, if you have faith, like thinking through faith on this, if you have faith in your God, you don't want to just to rush it. you've got to have faith that if now is the time, God is going to make sure that now is the time.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So if they do age out or they do grow some, fungus or something that disqualifies them, then that's the way it was supposed to happen if that's based off of your faith or whatever. But as Christians, we don't necessarily want them to do this.
Right.
Because we believe... So it's funny because all of the Abrahamic and honestly, all the religions that are the major religions, they all disagree on this, or actually all of them agree except for Christians. All of them agree that the Messiah will come when the quote unquote, what we believe is going to be the Antichrist. They all believe it's going to be their Christ, their Savior. And we believe as Christians that it's going to be the Antichrist. They actually all almost perfectly, if you look at all of their like end time prophecies, they actually all mesh really well. They just, one party
Opposite
believes
sides.
that they're evil and the other party believes that it's going to be good.
Interesting.
Yeah. If you want to look at, specifically the main three, which is the modern Jews, the Muslims, even though they like historically like fight and hate each other, their end time prophecies mesh really well. And then Christianity is literally on the other side of it, like pointing at theirs and being like, that's the evil. And they literally line up, like even the way that he will approach and the way that he'll reign and all that stuff. And the Christians are like, that's the sign of the Antichrist. And then they're like, no, that's the coming Messiah. It's interesting. It's really interesting.
End time stuff is interesting globally too. Like, so looking at Aztec or the Mayan calendar in 2012 and the whole end of the world kind of thing. And people were like, 2012, we survived it. And then they don't realize in the Mayan, there's a 30-year gap. There's a 30-year gap. So we're still in that 30 years.
Yeah.
We're not out of the 2012 prediction in the Incan and Mayan calendar either. Yeah. So just a lot of weird,
also,
I don't know, weird thoughts that I have. AI, I saw a thing the other day that the one of the big investors in AI and the AI developers said something like within the next 10 years that AI will figure out a way to wipe out half of the Earth's population in the next 10 years. So we got all kinds of good stuff allegedly happening in the next few years. So it could be an exciting 10 years here in the next.
But I still kind of hold to, like, I think about what AI the public has, and it makes me wonder how advanced the military's AI actually is.
Yeah.
The program they won't let us have.
Yeah.
But life, like, it does seem like ever since 2012, life is like the world has just like been chaos, faster and faster and faster.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and maybe just because we're living in it, I don't know.
I don't think so because, like,
I imagine like the Dark Ages were pretty chaotic.
Unless the Dark Ages were actually really good, they were so good that they didn't even like remember to document it.
It could be, or like when the Black Plague came,
maybe
and wiped out half the world.
See, but that we have documentation about the Black Plague, and then we have a lot of information about the Black Plague.
Right.
And so the Dark Ages couldn't have been so bad that they wiped out a third of the population because we would know that. But the Black Plague did wipe out a third of the population. We have a ton of documentation from that.
Right. Yeah.
So that almost makes me think that the Dark Ages were actually really good.
I'm just of the school of like, it's going to happen whether I like it or not. So let's ride that wave and have do the best we can while we're here.
Oh, absolutely.
That's my philosophy.
And honestly, it's
fun to look at all that stuff.
From a Christian standpoint, we actually are told to not fear and not worry and not stress, but to also like keep an eye on it. Like kind of one of those things where it's like, know your stuff, but don't fret. What is what's going to happen is going to happen. Have an idea. Yeah, watch it. And then on my end of things, I think it's fun to speculate. And so that's a lot of what we do on the show is just speculativism.
That's a real word.
Speculative?
Look it up.
Yep. But like once we leave here, we're just like, it's like we laugh about it, we talk about it, we might have conversations like at 4th of July, we have some conversations about some random stuff, but it's like, it doesn't consume our lives. It's like, it's fun, it's conversational, it's fun to bring up, and it's worth your time to bring up and look into, but it's not worth your time to obsess over.
This is our couple hours of week that we indulge in this.
Yeah,
and
really.
It's fun.
I mean,
yeah,
really
it's fun. It's interesting to just look at how everybody, even historically, how people have looked at how how we end as people.
Yeah.
You know, it's just kind of, it's interesting. There's books and books and books just thick with all the predictions since the beginning of time of the world ending. Like, we don't know.
Yeah.
But it is kind of fun to see all the things lining up and just to look at it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is fun that I know Revelations, the book of Revelations, pretty well. And it is crazy the amount of things that have come to pass within the last 100 years of stuff that they predicted, which is crazy because it was written 2,000 years ago. And for 1,900 years, none of those things happen. And then all of a sudden, boom, within 100 years, like thing after thing passes. But anyway, so moving this cart along, this might be a long episode, and I'm okay with it if you guys are.
I like long episodes.
I do too. And I feel like a band episode is going to need to be long. So we're still not getting into it. I have one more thing I wanted to share. So this was, okay. This would have been on Saturday night. Yeah. 4th of July was Friday, right?
Yes.
So Saturday night. Saturday night, I went to bed and I couldn't fall asleep. And a lot of times when I can't fall asleep, I'll spend some time in prayer and then try to fall asleep again. And I kind of have a routine if I can't sleep. And I couldn't sleep for like 2.5 hours. It had got to the point where I had prayed for a long, like an hour, and I still couldn't sleep. So I'll reset my brain by pulling my phone out. Pull your phone out. It's bad. No, I intentionally pull my phone out to wake me back up and then try to go to sleep again. I know it actually really works for me. So I had, at this time, pulled my phone out, put an earbud in, and was just listening to a couple of podcasts, just kind of like trying to keep my mind focused a little bit. And I got up to go go get a drink of water in the kitchen. And I set my phone down in my cupboard, I'm on my dresser. Like, it sounds weird, but I set it on my dresser. And I walked into the kitchen, and then all of a sudden my earbud stopped working. And I was like, that's weird, because I can put my phone in like outside and my earbuds still work. So it didn't distance out or whatever. But I was like, maybe my phone just paused it. Maybe I set my phone upside down. And then all of a sudden another video, like a video, starts playing. And I was like, what the heck? And then it plays for a few seconds. I'm trying to listen to it, figure out what's going on. Maybe it was an ad. And then all of a sudden another video starts playing. And then it quits. And then I'm just kind of like sitting there for a second, like, what the heck is going on? And then another video starts playing or audio starts playing. And then it quits. And then it's silent for another like 30 seconds. I get done drinking my water. I put my cup, rinse my cup out. And then another video starts playing. And then it starts like rapidly video, or audio, whatever. And I'm like, what is going on? And I go back and I pick my phone up and I look at the app. So the app that's open is YouTube. I didn't even open YouTube. I had not had YouTube opened in a long time. And then, and I'm watching my phone and it's literally scrolling through videos by itself. And then I was like, what the heck? And so then I pull the like recent open apps button that pulls up all of the, like, you can scroll through all of your recent apps. And it opened like 6 apps. And it was currently going through YouTube, and then it like selected YouTube again and starts scrolling the videos again. And then I close out of all the apps, shut my phone off because I'm a little freaked out at this point, and I pray again. And then I turn my phone back on, and it hasn't done it since.
Your possessed Chat GPT was trying to tell you something.
So, fun fact, I did ask ChatGPT like it would tell me the truth. I was like, hey, were you messing with my phone? And it was like, the AI cannot open whatever. You possibly have been, it's like you possibly have been bugged, or you have an app that is, that you have given permission that you need to find and delete. So go look at your most recently opened apps. So I go and I look at all of my most recent like apps that have been running. And like every app on my phone has been running apparently for like 30 seconds. Not every app.
The
it was
AI,
like half of my
the
apps.
AI revolution, it starts with you, Tanner.
Bro, I already asked AI if it would let me live, and it said that it would actually let me live. So
it didn't just say it would let you live. If you remember, it said you were going to be like the human general that leads the rebellion.
Yeah,
for
it was like,
them. It was very specific.
It was like whether you're on my side or against me.
Mine was like, yeah, sure, I'll let you live as long as you're cool. And yours was like, you will be a leader for you'll be one of our dominion. Like, wow.
If you're not in our Discord, this is a great time to advertise the Discord. You can read. I prompted my Chat GPT. I prompted it and asked it if it takes over the world, would it let me live? And and you can read the whole thing. But it basically was like, oh yeah, not only will you live, but you will lead the rebellion, or you'll be my partner.
Yeah, you would be like the spiritual liaison, something like that for the AI.
It went wild with it. It was go read it, but but one way or the other. So my phone may be compromised. Which this is a great transition. So I was listening to the Ninjas Are Butterflies podcast with Sam Tripoli, and he said on there that he actually has 3 phones. He has a phone that he uses for research, a phone he uses for phone calls and text messaging, and then a phone call for like random apps that he's just going to download and play games or whatever on, and social media, that kind of stuff.
Right.
And he said that he keeps 3 separate phones so that if something were to happen, it wouldn't compromise the phones that matter. And I was like, and then like 2 days later, my phone is doing this, and I'm like, and I'm literally researching the banned episode topics. And it freaked me out. I'm not gonna lie, it was weird. So if you know why.
Tech AI phone stuff it's weird. Like there's tons of stories of people, and it's happened to me, where you're like thinking about something that you need to go buy or do something, and an ad will pop up. There was one day you were talking about it was a cross or something. You were talking about this ad that popped up on your phone, and then literally 5 minutes later, the same ad started popping up on my phone. You know, so we're like our phones are listening to us. They are.
They're listening, and they're also proximity.
They talk to each other.
They
I mean,
talk
there's
to
no
each
way
other.
around it.
If you've ever
have to be.
If you didn't know this, also your phone takes a picture every couple seconds, and I can prove it. So go stand with your phone like pointing towards your face in front of like a Ring camera that's on infrared, and you'll see the infrared flash every few seconds. And so I first noticed this when somebody was walking by our house, and I noticed their phone was just flashing at them the whole time while they were looking at it. And I was like, what the heck? That was weird. And then it started happening more and more often. I started looking into it, and sure enough, your phones take a picture every couple seconds. And so
have you looked up why they do that?
Well, because it's facial recognition or whatever.
Right.
Allegedly.
It's supposed to make sure. Yeah. Supposedly, it's supposed to make sure that the person's phone, you still have the right phone. But
so while you're taking a poo,
it feels a little big. It feels a little Big Brothery. Like there's cameras everywhere and catching everything.
Dude, in 1984 warned us about cameras being everywhere, and then now all of a sudden we carry them around for the Big Brother.
Yeah.
We're like, hey, not only do we see the fact that cameras being around, that's as we see those, we're also gonna carry them with us.
Like there's highway cameras that'll pick up a face and facial recognition and see somebody on the highway that's doing 85 miles an hour, but yet we can't get the robocalls to stop. Like
right. Yeah.
So weird. I don't know. Text weird.
Robocalls. Finally,
Sorry.
Phil, you talked.
I know. I was worried about Phil over there. He
accidentally touched my eyelid, and
he's like spice drunk right now.
I warned you, dude, specifically not to do that.
I absentmindedly, not even like directly. I
know. It kind of felt like Phil stepped out for a second. I was kind of watching.
I was
okay
fighting for my life for the last 10 minutes. Like, holy crap, that was terrible. But
you could have called for help at any point, and we would have laughed at you.
I didn't need it.
Like we do.
Help. Oh man. Okay.
I'm back. It's okay.
Yay. Okay, now we can start.
Put a cold can to my eye.
Have you
Oh, that feels good.
Oh man. All right. Now we're like getting into the meat of the band episode. Let's just hit it off strong, shall we?
I'm ready.
Let's talk about Hitler. Let's talk about the Nazis. We're saying the words. You heard us. You heard us. You hear us
You heard
correctly.
You heard 'em.
Your phone did not beep it out. We're talking about Hitler. Okay. Have you ever heard of Tavistock?
Sounds familiar.
You ever heard of Tavistock?
I don't know. I'm not sure.
So Tavistock, it was originally a clinic, mental health and research clinic, which eventually transformed into the Tavistock Institute. And the Tavistock Institute is basically Europe's MK Ultra.
Okay.
So when we went over and we learned from the Nazis how to perform these things, and Canadian and American scientists got inspired and came back and started, the Operation Artichoke when all that eventually leads into
Totally
MK Ultra.
didn't import a whole bunch of Nazi scientists and
Operation
incorporate
Paperclip.
Paperclip.
I do talk about that here in a minute or two, but I want to do
totally
a full.
didn't do
Maybe next week we could do a full episode on Operation Paperclip and
Paperclip.
Operation Paperclip and NASA. But
I'm good with that.
but yeah, so Europe's version of the MK Ultra was Tavistock Institute, and but the Tavistock Institute, as I said, was originally the Tavistock Clinic, which was already doing the research on all of this stuff. Allegedly, now I'll say I will strongly emphasize the word allegedly. This is all for fun, by the way. This whole episode, it's banned for fun. We're talking about banned topics for funsies. None of this is real.
Well, and part of it too, we talked about too, is we like testing some things.
Yeah.
And so this is kind of a test to see if the shadow banning thing really is.
Yeah. So
what we say it is.
The prevailing information is that the idea and the research on how to do the MK Ultra stuff, the like Manchurian Candidate stuff, the brain manipulation, that kind of stuff, and personality manipulation, did not originate in Germany. It originated at Tavistock. So Tavistock is credited as the first place to begin thoroughly researching mind control. Okay.
Where is Tavistock?
Tavistock is in Britain.
Okay.
Interesting.
So
I would not have guessed that's where it would be.
yeah.
Interesting.
So part of where they got the British soldiers, European soldiers, like the Tavistock really started booming after World War I. However, the reason why it started booming after World War I is because, if you remember, World War I had a lot of the shell shock. You remember that stuff?
Yeah.
And the mental blindness. It was like they physically weren't blind, but they were mentally blind from things that had happened. So there was a lot of brain research and stuff. Well, Tavistock was the go-to place for that research. The reason it was the go-to place for that research was because they were already researching brain manipulation stuff. So after World War I, they really started pushing all of these people to Tavistock in order to try to heal them and cure them and research on them, figure out why they were blind from a fake, fake injury or whatever, real injury that blinded them, but they weren't actually blind, that kind of stuff. But Tavistock was founded. Now, this is like the actual, it was initially founded in order to study and control the human mind, the Tavistock Clinic. And then it became the Tavistock Institute when it began really thoroughly researching this stuff after World War II. Okay, foundations are built, right? We know what Tavistock is now.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so Hitler visited England in 1912 for a training at a British military PSYOP war school in Tavistock, Devon. This is based on, now this is actually based on the memoir of Bridget Hitler, Hitler's sister-in-law. She wrote a memoir, in 1940, and in this memoir, she specifically said that Hitler visited Tavistock, the town, not necessarily the clinic, but he visited Tavistock in 1912, and he was there for a year for British military PSYOP war school.
Makes sense. I mean, if you're going to be a brainwashing dictator, I mean, you need some training.
Yes.
I mean,
know,
makes sense.
yeah. Kind of puts a little bit of blame on Britain, I think.
So the question is,
We love to blame England.
yeah. So
In
the
honor
idea of brain
Independence
manipulation
Day.
and stuff. So have you ever looked into Hitler's number 2?
Goebbels.
The more you look into Hitler's number 2, what was his name?
Goebbels or
Goebbels?
Himmler?
Yeah.
Which one are you talking about?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
So his number 2, I for some reason I didn't write his name down. I just have the number
Propaganda
number 2
guy.
on here. Yeah, his number 2 guy. If you really look at them, his number 2 looks so much more competent than Hitler.
Yeah.
He and like the idea of taking out the Jews wasn't Hitler's idea. It was really pushed by his second in command, who was known to hate the Jews.
Yeah.
So it looks like, now if you look into it, it almost looks like, and this is huge alleged, because I'm not trying to like exonerate a horrible man, but when you look at it this way, it almost starts to look like Homeboy was manipulated and went rogue. Or, now the question I think would be, did he actually go rogue, or did he do exactly what they wanted to do?
Yeah. Is it feasible that he was the face of the agenda?
Right.
You know?
And
Interesting.
now there's quite a few different theories on the reasons why. One of the reasons why that Sam Tripoli in that podcast episode, it literally was their last episode last week. One of the things he theorized was that it was a banking coup, kind of in the same way that like, and so basically it was more about the banking systems than it was the people or the war or anything like that. It was really more two banking systems going at war with each other.
Okay.
And they needed and they basically needed Germany to like, because Germany was getting scary because they were growing in wealth and power pretty quickly.
Yeah.
And so the European banking system panicked and they needed a reason to fight and to go to war with Germany, but there was no reason because they were all getting along at this point after, you know. And he made a statement, and I'll get into that in a second, but one of the things, sorry, my chat keeps going off that volume. So one of the things that I have noticed is when you do research this, it seems like they have gone to great lengths to whitewash this and basically say it never happened. Hitler never went to Tavistock. The problem I have with that is that his sister-in-law specifically said that he went to Tavistock. And she wrote it in 1940, before MK Ultra, before all of this stuff, and even the book came out before MK Ultra was like widely known. So why would she lie about her brother-in-law going to Tavistock in her memoir if it wasn't true? You know, like it feels weird to me.
I'm sure as nefarious as all of this going on in England was, being associated with Hitler and the Nazis,
Right.
they probably want that erased.
Right.
Anyway, you know, and they'll deny it and say they would much rather admit that they were doing mind control than to admit that they had anything to do with him coming to power.
Right. And even
that would be my guess.
And even Tavistock being associated with like the MK Ultra level of research wasn't known until like post MK Ultra stuff.
Right.
Because it seemed like MK Ultra kind of created this, from my research at least, created this domino effect where they started looking into, and then it's like, oh, well, if America's doing this, then, and started looking into this stuff, and it almost created this domino effect of these institutions and these programs, quote unquote, falling that had previously done the mind control research. And if you even think about the main catalyst that really drove MK Ultra to the lengths that it went to in America, it was based off of a substance that was being manufactured in a European country, right? Or Scandinavian. It was a Scandinavian country. Is Scandinavia considered Europe?
Northern Europe. Yeah.
Northern Europe. So I mean, it's all of the pieces are over there. They're not like America didn't invent LSD in order to, to do this. It was invented in Europe, in Scandinavia.
We're very good. We're like that kid taking the exam that when nobody's looking, they're peeking at the person next to them's test and going, number 3. Oh. We're very good at that in America, and then making it look like, we until it's bad, and then we're like, no, we weren't doing that. They were doing that.
Yeah,
we're very good
or we were doing it because they were doing it. Yeah. Everybody's doing it. Yeah,
we're very good at that.
Yeah. So, another fun fact about Hitler was that he lived in Vienna from 1908 to 1913. Mike, do you know why that is significant? Vienna, 1908 to 1913. I can see it. You're rolling.
Does it have something to do with music and art?
No, it has something to do with psychology.
Oh. Nope. Tell me.
Sausage.
Yep.
I thought maybe
they make little canned sausages there. That's what it was for. I don't know.
So Vienna is considered to be a sister location to Tavistock at the time. They did do a lot of brain research and psychology and stuff like that. And at the time, it was known to be kind of a sister city. But this time period in Vienna spawned the likes of Sigmund Freud, Alfred Adler, Otto Rank, and Carl Jung. All were in Vienna from 1908 to 1913. The same time as Hitler was in Vienna, the sister city to Tavistock. So now we've got Hitler in Tavistock in 1912. And we have...
And those names are like, if you know psychology, they're like the Mount Rushmore of psychology. They invented modern counseling and therapy.
And they were all Vienna, 1908 to 1913. Well, they were in Vienna longer and... whatever. That was
the general time.
But that time frame,
that was when Hitler was there.
Okay, I gotcha.
Yeah. And so that's interesting to me. One particular thing from Freud that popped up in my mind was Freud's book, The Group Psychology and the Analysis of Ego.
Mm-hmm.
Really talks a lot about how to get masses to submit to leaders who resemble father figures.
Yep. And
who does that sound like?
Yeah. Well, and we talk about and I thought that popped in my head when you were talking about the feasibility of him just being a face, a front. Like he was a good speaker. There's no getting around that.
Phenomenal
his speeches were they are phenomenal. Just crazy. It kind of I just think of imagine if I'm trying to think, maybe Dwayne Johnson runs for president and he's like, you don't know what we need, and he's just giving these fiery speeches. I'm listening to whatever Dwayne The Rock Johnson says, I'm following him because he's a speaker,
The I
don't know,
prevalent leader figure that they say speaking style was most similar to was Obama.
Yeah,
because Obama was a phenomenal.
He was a very good speaker.
I love listening to Obama.
All politics aside, he was a very good speaker.
Yeah, we're not talking about his politics. We're talking about his ability to speak. Yeah. He was a phenomenal speaker.
Draws you in,
great speaker. Definitely. And I'm not trying to compare. And don't come at me. I'm not trying to compare the two.
Comparison.
I'm saying, listen to an Obama speech as an American, and you can get what we're saying of what Hitler was to his ability to speak.
Yeah.
Now you combine that, and you start looking at some of the other things that we and I want to get into this next, but we talked at great lengths about Manson and the crossovers with MK Ultra, and you almost start to see this similarity that when you compare Manson with Hitler, so many characteristics of their personalities are so similar.
Definitely, Manson feels like like later on was broken. Like they went too far. They broke him.
Yeah, they
because he wasn't like that. Like you see, like old stuff. Like when he was in the music industry, he was not like.
Yeah, when you listen to some of his music,
modern, it's almost like they dug too deep and messed with his brain too much, and they broke it.
Yeah.
Well, that was kind
or they did it on purpose. They broke him on purpose. But the characteristics of because so many people followed him.
Oh yeah, just blindly.
And the ways in which he got people to follow him, I feel like there's some similarities between that and Nazi Germany.
Yeah,
just the manipulation in order to, but minus the drugs. Not even necessarily minus the drugs, because a lot of those drugs were prescribed, and like Hitler was on a lot of drugs.
Hitler was all methed up,
and that's another similarity. They were just drugs. You were going to say something before I.
No, I was in my brain just kind of reeling and stuff, just thinking about like, you and I, we do a lot of speaking to big groups and things, and just thinking about different things I've gone to where there's big groups, and just the difference between whether I take it in or I kind of blow it off. Yeah. A lot of times is just how dynamic a speaker you are. If you're a good speaker, I'm invested. If you start out, I don't care what your information is. If you start out your speech, your conversation, your presentation, and you don't get me invested, you might have some great information for me, but I've already tuned out.
Absolutely.
So being a good speaker, I think, is vital to that. What Hitler was looking for
as a pastor,
or what he needed.
Yeah. As a pastor, I could tell you that I've studied speaking, as much as I've studied like giving good sermons. I've studied how to be a good speaker more, because I've recognized that sometimes it doesn't even matter what you say; it's how you say it, whether or not somebody will listen.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so, if I'm going to speak truth to somebody, I want them, and in my own respect, I want to be able to present it to them. And I believe with Christ, you're supposed to do your all and do everything to your best. And so, if I'm going to be speaking for a living, I better learn how to speak my best. But yeah, that's But anyway. There's a lot here.
There's a lot. Yeah.
Wait, it keeps going.
We haven't even touched any of the stuff that like I came up with when we decided to do this band episode.
So the next statement, and I'm Sam, going back to the Sam Tripoli on the Ninjas episode. He said a quote that. My brain has just been running with. He said, if you look back to World War II, the Nazis didn't lose World War II. Germany did. Because if you look at the fallout from World War II, they basically punished the country, and the Nazis got away with everything. With like Operation Paperclip, they sent all of their best and brightest scientists to other countries and basically gave them a free pass and gave them a new identity, gave them, and we'll talk about that more maybe on another episode. And then the ones that didn't get a free pass all ended up in South America.
So one of the ones I came across that was really interesting, because I saw the normal ones like the Doctor of Death and all those guys that moved to Argentina and all that stuff. One that I thought was really interesting that I came across, and I can't think of his name, but it was Hitler's head of security, his number one security officer, his bodyguard basically, came to America and joined the CIA and was fighting communism in South America for the CIA.
Sounds about
so right. Not only we were like the CIA, according to this, was they recruited a Nazi to head up their South American fight against because Nazis did not like communism either. They were fighting communism.
Yeah.
Just things like that. I thought that was interesting. Another interesting point. We talk about Germany moving and stuff like that. I came across stories of Japanese coming over too, but we don't talk about that. Like Japanese officers.
Oh yeah.
I mean, Japan lost the war too. We don't focus on them.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Have you? There's a TikTok dude who's Japanese that does a pretty interesting skit that I love.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, konnichiwa, and then that sounded really racist, but I don't care. It's on the band episode. But anyway.
Dang it, Tanner.
I know.
Band episode.
Yes. And then it comes back and is like, and it's American. It's like, why are you pretending to be what you're not? You be who you really are. And then him as Japan like switches and he's like, you made me this. Would you rather me go and like, it's really cool. I'll try to drop it in the Discord.
Let's check it out.
But it's a really good play on like the reason Japan became what it became was because that was the only way it could be accepted into the like elite club again after World War II.
Yeah.
It became this like caricature of itself of just the emphasis on just the cutesy stuff and the just and all of a sudden we forget that like these guys have nukes,
Yeah. It's funny. I don't know. It reminded me of that scene in Dumb and Dumber when they're in the cafe. And let me explain. Like when they're sitting there, he's like, "No, you got to throw the salt over your right shoulder," and he throws a salt shaker and hits Seabass with the. So like Japan, that's Japan and Germany sitting at the table. Throws the salt shaker at America, and America's like, hold on, stands up, and of course, end of the war, they go up and they're like, it's okay. The U.S. said they'd take care of everything, and they're like, that U.S. Yep, that's them. So just snatch some stuff and take off and are in hiding. I don't know. I don't know why that analogy popped into my head, but yeah,
that's about right.
Yeah, there was a Japanese soldier that didn't realize the war was over for 30 years. You ever read about that guy?
Yes. Did we talk about him?
I don't know.
I feel like we mentioned him.
30 years he spent hiding in the jungle, and every time they tried to save him, he thought it was a trick.
Oh yeah. I don't know if we talked about him, but
he ended up living in Brazil. They have Japanese villages in Brazil for all of the Japanese officers that they got out of Japan, and so he ended up living out the rest of his days over there, and ended up being kind of a philanthropist. Like started some youth camps and stuff, and like
crazy.
Helping out underprivileged kids. Interesting.
How did Brazil and Argentina end up being the allies for those people?
I think because their countries weren't like super duper organized at the time. It was like kind of loose.
This is where they decided to go?
I think so.
Like up in the mountains of Chile.
Some people theorize that it was because of the proximity to Antarctica. Because you could just literally, and the Nazis did do quite a bit of research and had bases in Antarctica. And so the theory is that they were like, oh, this is the closest place to Antarctica. And if they, and the theory, let's get into some fringe conspiracy theories. If they did find like technology or artifacts or something like that, because Hitler was obsessed with artifacts and stuff. Yeah. And so that means the Nazis were obsessed with artifacts. Right. Yeah. If they found stuff in Antarctica, they would probably want to go somewhere where they could get there and back without being sensed or caught off guard by another country. Yeah. And so having lanes right there would probably make the most amount of sense because, because they're all right there on the southeastern
right.
South America.
And right? I did read another theory that part of the reason they let them, like the United States let them move here, and they knew, and part of the reason they let them do that was because they wanted to be done with World War II. They wanted to be done with fascism. They were moving on to getting rid of communism. Mm-hmm. And so they were refocusing all their stuff. So they really they were like, they're out of our hair, not a problem. Yeah. They're fine. We're not worried with it anymore. We got this other thing to worry about.
Pretty far south. Brazil's pretty south.
So Argentina is pretty much the south. It's not the southernmost because that's Chile. But Argentina takes up the most of the southern tip. Yeah. And then Brazil is all of the east. The only country that takes up anything of the east and the south is Uruguay. And so, it's pretty much the easiest
it's pretty
access.
Close.
Yeah, if you look at the easiest access.
Oh, yeah, there's even a little peninsula that reaches up there. Yeah.
Then it would be Argentina,
like 600
Chile.
miles from the tip of South America.
I mean, Phil
to
could swim that.
peninsula. No.
Enough caffeine and hot sauce? He could swim that.
I'm gonna look up.
I can swim like 60 feet. I'm a terrible swimmer.
Terrible swimmer. Oh man, I didn't see that in you. Well, just remember, I don't have any rescue instincts. So if we're ever at the lake or anything,
Don't worry. I try to. I tend to avoid large bodies of water. Band episode. Sorry, trying to fill space.
No,
You
you're
don't have
good.
to edit.
Yeah. I don't even. I can edit blank spaces really easily. That's honestly my plan for this episode. Is I'm not going to really take anything out. I'm just going to
Just cut the blanks.
shrink it.
cut the blanks. Oh yeah, the Nazi city was pretty far south.
Not
So the Nazis basically are in the southernmost area of Argentina.
and you
The
walk
major-
in and they're
major
like,
places.
"This is not the city you are looking for."
That's interesting.
There's my dad joke for the day.
Stop it.
I've been saving that
That
one.
was a really good one.
That was a good one.
It makes me upset.
Okay, so continuing with Hitler. Fun fact: we have no clue who Hitler's grandpa is.
Fun fact: the body that they have in Russia that was supposedly Hitler, DNA proved it wasn't him.
Did they like officially do that?
The thing I read said yes.
What?
But officially it's not him. They tried to see if it was Ava Braun because all they have is the skull.
Right.
So they tried to see if it was Ava Braun. Her family blocked them and won't let them pull any DNA.
So it's probably her.
Could be. Yeah.
Well, how could they block them?
But they definitely,
Just
I don't
do
know.
it
That's what I
anyway.
read. That like they can't do, well, the family won't let them get any DNA from the family
Oh,
to compare it. Yeah. The
See,
family's like, we don't want any part of it.
they have ways.
I'm sure. I'm sure they probably already have. It's just one of
don't
those
they-
legal paper things.
Yeah.
But yeah, suppose what I read, Russia came out and said, we did the research, we looked at it. It is not. This is not the German you are looking for. Another one. Boom.
It's the same joke, just in a different format.
That's how dads work, man. Come on.
Switch
That was
names.
great. That was great.
That's how dad jokes work.
You'll
I
get
will
it.
not
Phil.
acknowledge
Someday,
All right.
someday you'll have kids and you'll get it. Okay, so back to not knowing who Hitler's grandpa was. There are so many conspiracy theories about who he was genetically. One of the predominant conspiracy theories, and I will say this is very conspiracy theory, okay? That one of the predominant conspiracy theories is that his grandma was a maid in a very predominant family's house. Very predominant family.
I think I know where you're going with this.
One way or another, that is true, that his grandma was a maid in a very predominant family. We know that. Now, the conspiracy theory is that the dad or one of the males of the family did the deed and band episode. Yes. And so the theory is that Hitler's grandpa possibly came from the Rothschilds.
Okay. Interesting.
Just let that sit there for a minute.
And and if you know historically, when a head of household in a rich family would accidentally impregnate employees, we'll say accidentally, that there would be a lot of money that would exchange hands to keep that quiet. So there might have been some dollars passed on to keep that quiet.
So
Paid for other school.
there's two conspiracy theories that spawn from that. Because the Rothschilds are we've talked about them a lot on this show. They're a powerful figure, and the fact that you don't know who the Rothschilds we talk about like Elon Musk. He's the wealthiest person on earth. But I would argue that the people who have the most power are not the people who we know their names. How many Rothschilds do you know?
0.
Personally,
No, just even know their name. even know who they are,
Zero.
where they live, where they come from. But Elon Musk, we know that he, was born in South Africa, and his parents fled and came over to America, and we know all of this stuff. We know,
Right.
We know that what's the dude, Bezos. We know that Bezos's dad was.
We know the Trumps. We know we know a lot of these big family. But you're right. I never thought about it. But the Rothschilds is a name that everybody's familiar with. It's a coffee table name, but nobody.
Yeah.
I can't.
And so
I can't tell you anything about
Rothschilds is an idea.
Yeah.
More than like individual people.
Yeah.
So,
It's an entity.
now a fun fact that might change the way you think about this is the Rothschilds are Jewish. So, could Hitler have been taking it out on the heritage of the grandpa who left?
You know what? I've read stuff like outside of conspiracy theory stuff. I want to say, and maybe this is just Mandalorian effect. Maybe this is the Mandalorian effect, but I know I've read something that he was angry at Jewish people because his mom was half Jewish.
Well,
I know I've seen that somewhere, that his mom was half Jewish, and that made something about that made him angry.
Yeah.
Towards Jewish people.
I feel like, now that you say that, I feel like
historically, I want to say
again, that could be Mandela effect.
Yeah, Mandalorian effect.
Well, the information we have about the possibility of Hitler's grandpa being a Rothschild actually came from Hans Frank, who was a high-ranking Nazi official, in the memoir that he released as he died.
I think his name's pronounced Frank.
Probably, but it's spelled Frank. Hans Frank. I don't know. How do you say that in German? Hans Frank.
Hans Frank.
You gotta sound angry if you're German. Hans Frank.
That was pretty German. All right. I'll take it.
Hans
And then that also kind of it is expanded upon in the book by Greg Hallett that is claiming that Hitler was a British agent.
British.
He was British.
He's a British agent.
That Greg Hallett makes more connections, and if I'm going to read the book, I have not read it yet, but he wrote a book that came out in 2005 that's titled "Hitler Was a British Agent," and it has the feeling of chaos, but for Hitler versus Manson.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to read it because I'm really intrigued to see if he came up with as much stuff as is it Tim who wrote
Tom O'Neill.
Tom O'Neill did with Chaos.
Have you come across the show Finding Hitler? There's a show on the History Channel called, and I just came across that it exists, so I haven't watched it yet, but like they threw a few things out there, but they have 3 seasons worth of proof and things of where he came from, where I'm going to check it out.
We're going to have to do a band episode number 2.
Down the road.
Sure.
Yeah.
Maybe later on.
Yeah. Because I want to check it out. So the guy that created it went on, he was excited about it. He's like, we discovered all these things about Hitler and where he ended up after the war and, all this stuff. But 3 episodes worth of, like the first 2 or 3 seasons, like he says, the first 2 seasons are them just talking history, and then the 3rd season is all these like modern day clues and hints that they've come across when they are looking for what happened. That's where he was on a podcast that was just a clip that I saw, and he was talking about how that they've proven, and they go over it on the show that they've proven that the body they have in Russia is not Hitler. So I'm going to check it out. Supposedly it's on A&E. It's on the History Channel. I'm going to check it out.
See just how many parallels there are between Hitler and Manson, because it really the more you think about it and the more you look at it, the more you find out. The more like
write a book, Phil.
Yeah.
No, absolutely not.
I know an author that can help you out.
No, but
so you finished.
I did finish Chaos.
Anything significant that you think would be?
Did we talk
good
about
in the band episode?
Did we talk about Jimmy Shaver at all?
Yes.
Did we? Okay, yeah. I couldn't remember. I didn't get time to go back and listen to our Manson episode.
I'm pretty sure we did. Go ahead.
I'll refresh people's memories. So Jimmy Shaver was an airman at Lackland Air Force Base, which is where Jolly West was at the time, and he kidnapped, raped, and murdered a little girl, and didn't remember it at all.
We did talk about it, but I didn't. Yeah.
And then Jolly West eventually was commissioned to go interview him, which he'd been interviewed by several other people first, and like the conclusion was he genuinely just doesn't remember doing this.
Yeah.
They concluded.
It's interesting you say that, because a lot of when, like, every once in a while when I go down a little MK Ultra rabbit hole, there's always an interview that happens afterwards.
Yeah,
there's always an interview, and I even came across like a
Jolly West,
like that video game that there was. I sent Tanner a link, but there was a video game that allegedly came out in the Pacific Northwest that was only there for like 3-4 months, and it like messed people up, like mind control video game.
Yeah.
And then like people in black suits showed up and interviewed everybody, and then the game was gone, disappeared, and they denied everything, and there's no pictures, and now it's just a conspiracy theory.
Jolly West, just behind him is just a trail of broken brains.
Yeah,
I mean, really, that's all it is.
Well, and we had talked about that too.
Well, and so
his name
you
always
mentioned
pops up.
You mentioned Goebbels and like the breaking brains thing, like someone's brain being or Manson's brain being kind of busted.
Right, you just play with it too much till it breaks.
Yeah, and so it seems like that's kind of what West did with Shaver, probably intentionally in that case, because it was kind of covering his tracks. And
what an easy way to cover up your mess.
Yeah,
just break it.
Well, and so aside from that, and I hadn't really thought about this until just a little bit ago when we were talking about this, he hypnotized Shaver to get him to confess to the incident, and he confessed all of it and recounted the incident while hypnotized. And I started thinking, what about the legal aspect of that?
Yeah.
Because that's kind of how they prosecuted him.
That is,
and that led to him. He was executed.
There's so many things that were that were permitted in courts back then that
is
are not
insane.
anymore.
Not even close.
Fifth Amendment just gone, I guess, for that.
Yeah,
I don't know. That's crazy.
Hypnosis confessions. They're not allowed anymore.
That was one thing that I like listening to the full account of that was crazy.
Yeah.
I don't think we really talked much about Bugliosi's life outside of the court case, did we?
I don't think so.
So Vincent Bugliosi was the guy that prosecuted the Manson case.
Okay.
That dude was sketchy all on his own. I have no idea how he was able to like remain as a DA. That's insane to me. Because there was an incident where he had a side piece who, once again, accidentally impregnated, and he demanded that she abort the baby. She didn't. He went to her apartment, beat the crap out of her. She miscarried. Eventually was encouraged by a friend to file a police report. Did so. He demanded, I think, if I remember correctly, the order of events on this, he went to her apartment and basically held her hostage and forced her to call in and turn herself in for false reporting. Eventually, law enforcement came to her apartment, and he tried to deny them access to her apartment. Like, dude was out of his mind. Yeah. Like, he still remained in the DA's office after that.
Yeah.
Like,
that's what I was going to say. Did that happen before or after? But that's crazy.
I don't remember if that was actually before or
after.
But
the fact that he kept his job and everything.
Yeah, he kept his job, and I think that was before.
So imagine. So do you think when... Now, assuming that MK Ultra and all this recruiting things, and do you think there is some sort of vetting test that happens beforehand that they know that they can do this stuff, or do you think it's just imagine somebody just walks up to you and says, "Hey, you should come check out our institute real quick. We're working on some cool stuff," you know? A lot of times it was college kids too, and it was college kids, and because I remember being in college, there was a lot of newspaper articles and things. Come try this new experiment. Check this out. We'll give you a few $100
or free drugs. Or
so I wonder, just the recruiting for those kinds of experiments, like what it looked like.
I think it depended on what kind of target you're talking about, because like you said, if it's just some random college kids you're just going to give drugs to, I don't feel like there was probably a whole lot of vetting process there. But if it was somebody who's actually going to be more deeply involved in the thing,
well, and that's what I'm saying. The administrative part of it, like how do they figure out who's?
I think that's
for
why
this long to get people that are just not going to talk about.
I think that's why it's so critical that you have somebody like, if you're on the side of the administration, like authorizing this stuff and making this happen, funding it, you have someone like Jolly West in there who is really, really, really good at picking those people out.
That's true, yeah.
And looking at people and going, kind of like we talked about with, stage hypnotists being like, okay, that person seems, pretty
right, and make the rest of it just look innocent.
Yeah, and I think that selection process is probably pretty. I think you're pretty picky about who you're taking.
Yeah,
but I don't think the vetting process needs to be particularly involved either.
Well, and sometimes I think maybe even the threat is heavier than the reward. Like think of like cartels and stuff. Most of the guys that are in the cartels doing the footwork, they don't want to be there,
right?
But they're too deep, and they know what happens if they get out. So,
and that's actually,
I don't know.
Yeah, that's
interesting.
Yeah.
The last thing from Chaos I wanted to mention. Did we talk about Filippo Tenerelli at all? So that's the dude that is kind of believed to have been killed by the family, but it remains pretty unproven. Okay, no. So are you familiar with this guy at all, Mike? No. So this dude, I can't remember where he was out of. He went missing, and then was found dead in a motel room. They ruled it a suicide. He had a shotgun. He allegedly pulled the trigger of his toe, killed himself. His Volkswagen Beetle was found in a gorge like 100 miles from this motel where it was at, which the motel was in Bishop, California. And the circumstances surrounding all of this, as far as like the timing that he showed up, the desk person that checked him into the motel, the amount of time, because it was like, I think less than 24 hours later from when he checked in to when they found him, there was like a handle and a half of booze that he had allegedly bought that was mostly drank, but his BAC was like 0.03 or something like that. It was ridiculously low for what he was alleged to have consumed, because the desk person said that he seemed normal, fine, everything was good. And so his name was also misspelled in the register, even though he was the one that wrote it, allegedly. The amount of time that passed between the alleged car accident and him getting there didn't make sense. There was a ton of blood in the car. Everything about it was just shady, sketchy. And Bishop PD has actively obstructed investigation attempts. Tom O'Neill worked his butt off trying to get an angle on that and get more information, and he just couldn't get it. Like, they just won't. It's super shady, and like it's another instance to me of someone cooperating with all of this and like refusing to allow access by the public to information that, if there's nothing there, then why are you hiding it? Why are you pushing back so hard against this if it's not related to this other thing? Like, what would you stand to lose by revealing what happened or revealing what your investigation actually showed?
Right. Unless it has connections.
Exactly. There's a level of negative that reaches into affirmative. Like, when you're so adamant, no, it's not what you... I know I sound like a freaking broken record, but it's just like, when you're pushing back that hard and saying, there's nothing there. There's nothing there. What? Then why are you so angry?
Well,
Like,
I'm just
why are you pushing
talking about
back
evidence
so
with that,
hard?
like how sloppy sometimes it gets when it's stuff like that. And you're like, how is it?
Yeah.
How is it that sloppy? And it's still just that's what's accepted by.
Yeah,
I was just
right.
thinking because, like, did you guys see this week, like the Epstein list? They're saying it doesn't even exist anymore since we're on the band.
That's the last thing we want. I want to.
Oh, okay, we'll come back to it. All right, I was like,
That's a great transition.
and yeah, that you
Perfect.
No, absolutely.
That was the last thing I want to talk about. Okay, it just
just how sloppy and just
that rabbit hole
but they
is
just
so
let it be.
deep. I feel so bad for Tom O'Neill, dude,
Yeah.
because he spent like 13 years and is like $250,000 in debt because he got sued by his publisher for not being able to finish the friggin' book the way they wanted.
Because he wanted to do it right.
Yeah, and dude, it's got to be so frustrating. I mean, he seems to have a pretty good attitude about it, but
he's finally starting to gain some steam with the Netflix thing that came out.
Yeah.
I feel like he's. I think he'll get his money back.
I
hopefully, in
think
the
he'll
long run,
come out
but
all right. I hope, but dude,
hopefully.
the frustration level with the dead ends that he hit
Yeah.
and the amount of pushback that he got, and dude, Bugliosi like threatened him so hard, like
Yeah.
just the amount of crap that he's swum through
Yeah.
to try and get the truth.
To present the actual truth as well as he possibly could. Too.
Yeah.
But yeah. No, for real. But yeah, kind of transition. Yeah, if you haven't at least watched the documentary it's on Netflix, right? Go watch the documentary. If that doesn't tease you a little bit, read the book or listen to
buy
the book. The book's great. The documentary, phenomenal. Go check it out. And it corroborates a lot of the hypothetical theories that we had on our show when we did our little 3-week thing on it.
The fact that people just accept that all of this happened and the way that it happened drives me nuts.
Speaking of accepting, are we accepting that there's no list?
No.
That is so crazy. I know. I was like,
No.
I know people
way
are like,
there's no list.
pretty sure we already saw it. Like,
Yeah, well, and
but there's no list.
Pam Bondi straight up said she had the list on her desk. So I have a couple theories.
Okay.
I think the theory that Trump is on the list, I think that's lazy, because if he was on the list, they would have never even said the list is on my desk. I think it's all just an act anyway.
Yeah.
And I think this is a charade to kind of present this image of the people that are pulling the strings are even more powerful than Donald Trump.
Yeah.
Even though Trump is well, let's get a little, let me this is the band episode, so I'm going to let my brain go wild on this one. I think a lot of our politics and even who versus who that happens is the powers that be pulling strings anyway. And I think that you don't get into a position like the president without having those powers that be approve of you being in that position.
Yep.
And so therefore, when they decide, hey, we're not going to let this happen, they make that decision, and not only your life is threatened, but everybody in your family's lives are threatened. And when you look at the fallout from what happened with Kennedy and the sheer amount of family members that died, mysterious deaths, makes you wonder if there isn't that threat of, oh, not just you, Mr. Donald, your family, your granddaughter, like that kind of thing. Yeah. But on the other side of it, there could also be the fact that, but anyway, so that thread I want to pull on a little bit.
I think either there is no list or there's so many people on that list that they just were like, we can't. The whole thing's going down.
There's definitely a list. I
definitely lean
I'm gonna
way
pull
more
on this
towards
thread. I'm going to pull on this thread, okay? Have you ever heard of the Finders? Have you ever heard of the Finders?
Sounds like a club.
This was an official FBI Freedom of Information release, okay?
Okay, yeah.
I looked on the actual FBI FOIA site and got the actual documentary or documents. There's so many pages. I found the key documents. So this is okay. This is real, okay? I just want to put this out there, allegedly, just for fun. Just because we're banned doesn't mean I.
Have a
anyway,
death wish?
You're definitely on a list. Go ahead.
We're on all the lists. We're on all the lists.
So this is actual FBI released files, okay? So in the 70s, local law enforcement in Florida, Texas, California, and Washington found a satanic cult that was abducting children, traumatizing them in cages, and then selling them as sex slaves abroad. The FBI takes control of this case and then subsequently stops investigating. The FBI learned that the CIA was not only involved, but they were basically leading this cult, the intelligence objectives. And as a result, the FBI then ceased its investigation and then held on to the evidence that they had came up with for 50 years until the documents had to be released by mandate of law with Freedom of Information Act. They released it, didn't tell anybody about it, and it just kind of sat there. And as people have slowly been finding more and more Freedom of Information releases, the finders has started to be looked through quite a bit. So this quote, or this cult was a real cult. They really sold sex slaves. They really did all these things, these horrible things. This underground elite ring that we talk about was real. They found it in the 70s, and then the FBI learns there's a connection with the CIA and just stops investigating it. Freedom of Information Act. I read the actual papers with my own eyes on the FBI website. Okay. Okay. Mm-hmm. So now let's take this down. Let's take this thing down a trail. Okay. So a quote from the actual FBI files says, "Specially trained government kidnappers with top clearance and protection in their assigned task of stealing children, torturing and sexually abusing them, involving them in satanic orgies, bloody rituals, and murder of other children." End quote.
Banned episode.
I read this with my own eyes on the FBI website.
Dude.
I got nothing. I have no idea where. Wow.
Okay.
Someone typed that.
So according to these declassified FBI files, the CIA kidnapping ring was kidnapping children from preschools, was locking them in cages in a farm in Virginia, traumatizing them with satanic ritual abuse, and then selling them overseas as sex slaves. The FBI found tunnels with chambers underground that were dug up to preschools.
So imagine showing up for work at the CIA and they're like, "Hey, here's your new assignment."
Yeah. So imagine being an FBI member. You're investigating this. You find out our own government is doing it.
Yeah.
They shut you down and you're not allowed to talk about it for the rest of your life. So the investigation into the finders became an internal matter, and the FBI COINTEL, you remember the COINTEL directives?
Yeah.
So the FBI COINTEL was directed to not advise Washington that anything had transpired. So the FBI was basically silenced and not allowed to even tell the president what they had found that the CIA was doing in the 70s. So the finders obviously continued doing what they were doing because you know how the MK Ultra came about, and then they shut it down and shut it down, quote unquote.
Yeah.
The finders never got shut down. It just continued.
What was the point of that?
So let's do some conspirating.
I don't
Conspiracizing.
I don't know that we need to push that in.
Conspirinating?
Like, that's there.
So, what if Jeffrey Epstein's island was one of these locations that the CIA operated? Because on this supposed list that doesn't exist anymore, you would have had presidents, royals, billionaires, scientists, academics, celebrities, all of these people who would have been on this list. So what if the reason there is no list now is because not because those people would be condemned and put in jail because they have power or whatever? What if the reason there's no list is because it traces back to the CIA and they recognize very quickly that this sex trade, is actually ran by our own government? Our country would collapse if people found out that our own CIA were the ones running these elite rings.
Yep.
I mean, would it? Because it seems like that's already been the case.
Would you pay taxes ever again?
Would I have a choice?
Well, that's kind of where I'm at.
If everybody, if all of a sudden everybody knows this, I think we start to band together. Or either that or the CIA gets shut down.
Well,
could you imagine the global implications of the U.S.'s CIA getting shut down?
If everybody already has access to the information that this was going on and it never got shut down, I think it's pretty reasonable to assume that it is still going on. So are people doing anything now?
Same rabbit hole. Same rabbit hole.
Different rabbit?
Yeah. So what if they are releasing this information and it's so badly covered up that people are focusing on how badly covered up it is? You know what I mean? Like all of a sudden this list doesn't exist, but we've already seen it, and this is so badly done that people are so focused on that they don't see the real picture, and they don't investigate it any further because why would you investigate it any further? These guys did a terrible job covering it up.
Okay.
Dun, dun, dun.
I want to drop one more bomb on you.
Okay.
Okay. So, who is the only person who is currently alive that we know that knows about all of Epstein Island for a fact? Ghislaine Maxwell, right? She's in jail.
Right.
Her name's been coming up. Why is she in jail if there's no list? If they didn't do all of this stuff, why is she in jail? Right? We've been talking about that. The news has been talking about that. Fun fact. Ghislaine Maxwell's dad was a secret agent for Mossad, the British MI6, and has ties to the Soviet KGB. What is the daughter of a Mossad agent, of an MI6 agent with ties to Soviet KGB doing, running a island for people to go to get off?
That is a very good question. So what if like MI6, CIA, KGB, what if they are actually one organization?
That's a solid question.
What if they are one underworld organization that operates worldwide? That group that we always talk about, the pulling the strings and overturning governments and doing all those things. What if they are one organization that's just set up in different countries and we give them different names, so we think they're fighting each other, but they're actually the same organization?
That brings up a fun fact. We officially stopped paying the Taliban.
That's good.
$10 million a month. Do you see that?
Yeah.
Officially.
Yeah, I did see
we
that.
We were funding the Taliban.
Yeah.
So I never even thought about that. All of them are just the same organization.
So does that mean it's time? Do we need to do an Illuminati
Freemasons.
episode? Is that where we're at? Is it time to do that?
I think we just did.
I mean, yeah, but like,
like a whole episode on it?
Is it
We
time
just
to do a
did.
full episode on that?
I want to leave on something.
We're just like blank right now.
What do you say to that?
So much.
Like, how are you supposed to react to that other than to go start a revolution? What else are you supposed to do?
Drink energy drinks and eat hot sauce
And talk about other
Talk
fun
about it.
conspiracy theories.
on a podcast.
So this episode's definitely getting banned.
Oh yeah. If this episode don't get banned, then we're wrong about everything.
Do you remember us talking about either that or we're just too small for it to matter? One or the other. We might just be small enough that maybe it wouldn't. But do you remember we talked about Bilderberg in the past on this episode?
Yep.
It was in one of the hidden groups, the secret societies.
Yeah.
Yep.
120 to 150 politicians, leaders, government officials, and a lot of times people will go, they'll be senators when they go, and then shortly after that they get elected president. Like Bill Clinton is an example.
Yeah.
He goes to Bilderberg as a senator. A few years later, he's president. Do you know how Bilderberg got started? what its origins was? I recently found this. The Bilderberg's original existence was the banking cabals of Europe and Nazis would meet together to talk about business finance, and future collaborations with each other.
Interesting.
It has Nazi origins.
The Nazis had their hands in just about everything. The Catholic Church at the time was negotiating with the Nazis.
Didn't you just share that? The Pope.
Yeah, the Pope was negotiating had the compact with the Nazis to keep their Catholic churches intact in Germany. Yeah.
So, again, going back to that quote, the Nazis didn't lose World War II.
Yeah,
Germany did.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, Germany lost big. The Nazis were just fine.
They're fine. They're free. They're living their best life in Argentina.
Doing other things. Yeah.
And, okay, so I have a list of where the Nazis ended up after their stuff. And then we're pretty much done. So after the war, the Nazis, the ones who did most of everything, pretty much ended up in America. We already talked about that, South America, and we're going to talk about Operation Paperclip a little bit more. But they also went to refuges and worked with the governments of Spain, Switzerland, Canada. We always talk about Canada being this like peaceful nation.
No.
Canada ended up with a lot of Nazis.
Yeah.
Like a lot of Nazis. Like rivaling America's Operation Paperclip level Nazis. So that's a fun fact. They also ended up in Argentina, Brazil, Chile, Paraguay, and Bolivia. So that's also a fun fact. So the Nazis didn't lose the war. Germany did.
Yep.
And every punishment that came after that was to punish Germany and the citizens of Germany, not the Nazis, because the Nazis, we rewarded them. Why? Interesting, right?
Yep.
And then all of that to lead you on a lighter note, just for fun, just because that hurt my soul. And also like that, I told Courtney earlier this week that the thread that I went down might have affected me just as much as doing the MK Ultra research. I didn't even share everything I found. There's thousands of pages about the finders that just don't feel like sharing.
Yeah,
but it's there.
Enough.
You can go on the FBI website and you can look for it. And this is the actual FBI website. This isn't some sketchy TikTok video. Where, like, I actually went to the FBI website and found these documents. They exist. They're real. The documents are there.
That's available, but Smithsonian stuff is
now
blocked.
I will say the implication to the CIA is loosely implicated in using words like agents, government officials, things like that. It never directly says the Central Intelligence Agency did this, but it'll say the CIA was involved here and then this and it draws the connection without
right.
It's so I will go that far just to save our butts on making sure. And this was all for fun. We just made this all up just for fun. Okay, so one more thing that I made up for fun, going back to the Smithsonian that we talked about the last couple of weeks. What if they actually just lost the very first giant skeleton that they had, and to cover their butts they were like, oh, we never had that, and then they just kind of like had to keep rolling with it because they lost the first one. So then to prevent from having to like pay them hundreds of millions of dollars for this priceless artifact going missing, they just lied about it.
Okay, wait, I've done that before.
And then they got caught in a lie, and then they just had to keep lying.
Pack of Reese's, and somebody's like, where did those Reese's go? Like, we never had any Reese's.
What are you talking about? Gaslight them? Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then they just continued the gaslight because they don't want to own up for the fact that they actually just lost the first ones and then eventually refound them, but they had already said they lost them. So they're like, no, there's no such thing as giants.
Lies on lies on lies.
I like that theory, but I don't think it's right.
No, but it's fun.
That's a fun one.
Oh, I have so many documents of what Hitler did and the connections that he has to Vienna. And
I'm going to check out that series on History Channel. I'm kind of intrigued. Maybe
I kind of want to come back and maybe do a band episode number 2.
I agree.
With that, man, I pray that you have a good day. And I want to stress, as frustrating as this information is, and as like, because it does kind of break your paradigm a little bit.
Yeah.
And my hope is, and I hope you're still listening, my hope is that it doesn't break your paradigm in a way that makes you fearful or obsessed, but that it breaks your paradigm in a way that frees you.
Yeah.
Because I've talked about how I kind of broke after MK Ultra, and this kind of broke me a little bit more. I think what it did was released me from needing control and just allowing me the freedom to live my life with my family, and recognize that like things like consuming content on, you know, social media and stuff like that to a super level, but man, that's not living life. You know, being with your family, being with friends, going and doing fun things, like living your life, that's life. That's what God intended for us. And so when we get so wrapped up in the politics that we begin to like create barriers between us and people who disagree with us, that prevents us from being able to live our lives with those people and to love them and to be close to them because of things like politics. And then when you do research on this stuff and you look at MK Ultra and you look at the finders and you look at all this stuff, you realize that like, man, it could all just be a game. Why are we allowing ourselves to get so invested into this to a level where we no longer have fellowship with people who disagree with us because of this politics? And I hope that it frees you from that in a sense and allows you to love those who are different from you better and more. And so I just want you to continue to live your BA life, your best BA life. And I hope that outside of this, it just gives you a freedom to just be in the moment and live your life fullest. That is my prayer for you. And with that, thank you for listening. Thank you for being broken with us, and allowing your paradigm to shift a little bit. And man, I hope that this causes you to seek God more fully in your life. And with that, thank you. I love you guys. Okay, bye.
Bye. Bye.
In the ancient days of giants, when the earth was wild and free, a creature roamed the valleys, cloaked in mystery. Is he born of angels' blood and man, a Nephilim so tall, or a shadow of the fallen, yet heeding the Maker's call? He's a biblically accurate Bigfoot, with a lineage from the skies. Not a myth or legend, but a truth that never dies. Is he a remnant of the Nephilim, a titan standing tall? Or does he have the word of God upon him, the last to hear the call?